You can take a baby trick-or-treating, it's just that they can't say anything. So
You can't feed a baby candy.
You can't?
I mean, you can, but, like, are they supposed to have candy?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about babies. What's up, everyone, and welcome to a very spooky episode of the weekly Q&A.
Brew. It's just me. I'm not really a stormtrooper.
I am really a night sister, so sorry.
Yeah, you're finally living your true self.
For our first question, Luminous Being asks who the scariest Sith is.
They were asking for anything, legends or canon or whatever. I figured you would go with a canon answer, so I dug into some Sith stuff, or some legend stuff.
I would hope it's Sith
Yeah.
stuff.
I started to try to decide between Darth Nihilus and Darth Sion, because Darth Sion is like a zombie. I mean, he's an undead, falling apart corpse that just keeps himself held together through the dark side. But I think Nihilus is scarier because he's like a walking super weapon. He eats planets.
Mm-hmm.
Or like he sucks the force out of them, he doesn't literally unhinge his jaw and eat them. But that would be scary too.
Yeah. I would just go with Palpatine because somehow he can return.
Yeah.
At any given point.
I don't think there's a canon answer better than Palpatine right now because he is the culmination of all of the Sith.
He was pretty spooky in Rise of Skywalker. He had like the extra glowing eyes, and just he had those like decrepit hands.
He went through several spooky phases in that movie where like he was kind of a zombie with like the dead eyes, and then he had the super powered extra glowy eyes. He was so strong and scary that he could make new red robes for himself.
Yeah.
There are plenty of Legends answers, really. Like they really went with variety in Legends and the Sith Lords, which I appreciate. Darth Bane is also just a scary one because of how brutal he got, and his story is one of like a pretty normal, sympathetic person at the start, and it's like scary how terrible he became.
Scary how cool he was.
I mean, he is pretty cool.
Jack Mountford wants to know which Star Wars creature freaks us out the most.
I'm gonna go with the Dianoga. There are, again, lots of answers, especially outside of the movies. Like we'll talk about the Shrieker too, but the Dianoga is just one that from the start scared me because you couldn't see it, and it was kind of like the Jaws idea of it's scarier not knowing what it looks like. Now we know what one looks like, and it's still pretty terrifying. But in the movie, I was like not okay with Luke just being pulled underwater by a tentacle with an eyeball.
And you don't know how big it is.
Right.
It's like an iceberg. It could be huge down there.
I mean, that's basically the truth of it, is that we see the little eye stalk and then they're actually quite big.
Yeah. My first thought went to the ice spiders from that Mandalorian episode. I forget if they have an actual name.
I think they're just called the White Navi spiders in The Mandalorian. They're Krykna spiders in Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
Like, they're a kind of subspecies of them.
Yeah. I mean, I won't go out of my way to kill spiders, but I don't want them anywhere near me. And some that are that big, no thanks.
Yeah. I mean, you don't like little skittering creatures.
No, I do not. Especially if they're going after Grogu.
True.
Then Grogu, I super hate them.
Grogu was fine eating tiny versions of them.
That's fine. I'll just look away.
But I think if you're talking about scary creatures, like, you have to go with the nameless and at least discuss them, because they literally inundate you with fear. Mm-hmm. Like, they are the creatures that the Jedi are afraid of, because it finds their worst fears and then it brings it out of you. Yeah,
they kind of like show up as your worst fear, don't they?
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah. That's something that's a little more existential, and experiencing that as an adult, I find it's chilling and scary to read about, but I was far more scared of the Dianoga as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Jay Rushton asks, which droid is the scariest?
I've got two answers for this one, both from the comics, because right now the Dark Droids comic crossover event is happening, and so we've got this thing called the Scourge, which we just fully saw in the third issue, and it just looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly not that scared of it, but like it looks rad. It's got spikes coming off of it, and he took over a Star Destroyer, which is also covered in spikes. It's very it's very edgy. Literally.
Like it walked out of a Hot Topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. I gotta mention 000.
That was going to be my other answer. So
and what's its little buddy?
BT1.
BT1 and 000. That duo really is a good scary couple of droids because they love murder.
And 000 will politely torture you, which there's something scary about that. Some of his appearances in Darth Vader and Dr. Aphra have been pretty also edgy. Mm-hmm. Like people who say they want Star Wars to be more violent sometimes, it's like, read the comics. That's where you'll get that. 000 stuff can be pretty rough.
Yeah. Other than that, though, the chef droid that was wielding all those knives in Book of Boba Fett, that's kind of scary.
Funny you mentioned that. One of them just showed up in the comics because the whole Dark Droid thing is that this scourge can infect other droids. And one of the droids that infected was a chef droid with knives.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
That's terrible. That's terrifying.
So, I mean, I guess that's the big thing about the Scourge is that it can be any droid and it can control anything. So even a very normal, like a gonk droid, it would probably turn into some terrible walking EMP or something.
Poor little gonky.
I know. I hope it doesn't.
Audrey wants to know if any Star Wars moments gave us jump scares.
You go first.
Dark Rey. Rise of Skywalker.
That's a good one.
She gets her little pointy teeth and she's like, "Rawr."
She does the Bilbo Baggins from Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Just like,
that was
put on your scary face and jump at you.
That was unexpected, but yeah. I liked it a lot.
That's a good one. I jumped to the Minox from Empire Strikes Back. Like that made me jump. I think it still sometimes, even though I'm like, I know it's coming.
That one's got a really good build-up of silence when they're like, what is that? And Leia sees one from outside the window. That's a good one. Spider-Man of Earth 1218 asks, which characters would love Halloween the most if it existed in Star Wars?
The first two that popped into my head were Rey and Finn. Any character in Star Wars that had like a robbed childhood. Janna as well. Like basically anyone that didn't get to experience it when they were growing up, I think would just throw a rager of a party and really get into the costumes. And it's kind of like in the Lego holiday special where I think it's Finn who is like really into the idea of celebrating Life Day.
Yeah. I like that answer a lot. I feel like the clones would get really into it. Because they could be something completely other than what they are all the time.
That's a really good answer. and also kind of along the same themes of a robbed childhood where they grew up literally too fast.
Yeah.
And they didn't get to just ever be kids.
Yeah. It wouldn't, like, they could be something where someone wouldn't even know that they were a clone trooper unless maybe they heard them speaking. You know, that would be fun for them.
I really like that. But I also think it would be funny if they all showed up to a clone trooper Halloween party and they all somehow picked the same thing to dress up as.
Not again.
They're all Spider-Man doing the pointing thing.
Ormapa wants to know which characters we would take trick-or-treating. Nubs.
Oh.
Nubs. I want to take Nubs trick-or-treating.
I thought for sure I was throwing you a softball Grogu answer.
Well, yeah, I don't know that I would take him out. I would keep him in my home.
I feel
for
like
myself.
I feel like Grogu would cause some mischief.
I would be scared that I would lose him.
He might run off. He also might pull pranks. Like if someone didn't give him enough candy.
Yeah.
I could see him TPing someone's house with the Force.
Yeah.
Nubs, any of the Young Jedi Adventures kids would be super fun.
I said Nubs because that seems like the more age-appropriate character. I mean, Grogu is either a baby or 50, which are both unacceptable trick-or-treaters.
You can take a baby trick-or-treating. It's just that they can't say anything. So you
can't feed a baby candy.
You can't?
I mean, you can, but like, are they supposed to have candy?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about babies. LOST asks, what dead Star Wars character we would contact in a seance, and what would we ask them?
I feel like everyone's expecting me to say Biggs and ask him something profound, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to contact Anakin Skywalker, and I'm going to ask him specifically how he gets to be a Force ghost, just so we can get that detail. I can make the video, and I can stop having that question sent to me. Because, like, I don't know the full answer. Mike Chin's story Brotherhood, and from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi, touched on it a bit. And I think gave some solid clues, but like I just want to hear it from Anakin. And if all he says is like, I'm the chosen one, I'll be like, great.
Oh man, there's so many that you could pick from, but I don't know what I would ask them. I might see if I could contact Shmi Skywalker and ask her if she had the hots for Qui-Gon.
You know she did.
If you could come back, would you hit that? I guess if both of you could come back, would you run away together?
You could ask her, did you hit that?
Oh, yeah.
We don't know. We didn't see everything that happened. There was some shoulder touching from Qui-Gon in some moments.
Yeah.
It's a lot. That shoulder touch said a lot.
Lauren G wants to know if we have any pitches for a Star Wars horror movie.
I don't think I have like a straight up horror pitch. I think I'd rather go somewhere more psychological thriller with it, which is, some horror movies can be like that. But I've always liked the idea of following a Sith in between, basically during the time of the High Republic, while they're trying to stay hidden. And maybe they're like a Sith serial killer that's killing Jedi, and one investigator is trying to solve the crime. Very cat and mouse. That might be what the Acolyte is like. I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. We might get something similar in the Acolyte.
They have referred to it as a mystery thriller, but I think a story like that would be really fun.
Yeah. They've kind of danced around the kind of haunted mansion type idea. They kind of did that in Terrifying Tales.
Yeah, that or like Tales from Vader's Castle. They've done it a lot in comics.
Yeah. But like, if we were going to go check out the Death Star wreckage, make it super haunted, or like go to a random Sith temple and make that super, super haunted. Like something like that would be fun, kind of like a Paranormal Activity type movie, or something that we kind of are getting right now with the zombies and the Night Sisters. I really dig that story, obviously.
Just a full-on Death Troopers movie.
Yeah. I think that'd be really cool.
Why not?
Like Night Trooper movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of the zombies in Ahsoka, Michael Russell asks how Dawn of the Dead we think Thrawn's zombie army will be.
So I'm curious to see if the zombies even come back. Like, I wonder if that was kind of a one-off for them to escape, because now Thrawn's back in the main galaxy. He's got the Imperial Remnant. He might not need an undead army. And I don't know how effective they would be in the fight. Like, it's nice that they can respawn, I guess, but they didn't seem to be as effective as they were when they were just plain alive.
Yeah. I mean, we might see it again if... It depends on how big the battle is. If it's like one battle on one ship and he can tell the Great Mothers, like, hey, if those guys die, why don't you give him a few extra lives in there? And like, then we might see him again. But yeah, he's got whatever is in all of those cargo packages.
That's true.
So
yeah,
that seems to be what we're going towards as far as in an undead army.
I had forgotten about those. I guess I figured that's more of a Night Sister thing, but they're in a partnership here, so yeah, we'll have to see what all is in those crates. But it did seem like the zombie stormtroopers, like, they were actually shambling and like moaning the way a zombie would. I think that was more to just sell to the audience, like, they are zombies, but they were also still perfectly capable of using blasters and stuff. So I guess it's more of a to go down the zombie rabbit hole. It's more like Day of the Dead.
I was gonna ask what are we meaning for Dawn of the Dead here?
Like I'm interpreting it as George Romero's and not Zack Snyder's, because Zack Snyder's was like fast zombies.
Okay.
George Romero is like classic shambling, slow zombie. But in Day of the Dead, they do start to kind of relearn some things. So I'm gonna go with we're more in like a Day of the Dead level of zombie.
I like that. Elo Asti wants to know what were the best and worst costumes we wore as children.
I'll start with my worst because one year I went as Star Trek. Not even like Captain Picard or anything. Yeah, I know. I'm admitting my shame. No, like I grew up watching Star Wars and Star Trek, and one year
fair.
I was just like, I want to wear a Starfleet uniform. But I didn't have a specific character. I guess I wanted to be Picard, but I didn't put on a bald cap or anything as a 6-year-old. I think I was 7 when I did that.
I don't have a whole lot of specific memories or pictures of me from Halloween's. I remember a handful of costumes I wore, but I think one year I was at the beginning of my goth girl stage, and I just really wanted to like go as a goth girl, so I convinced my mom to give me some money to buy some stuff at Hot Topic that I just wanted. And I said it was a costume, and it wasn't. It was just stuff I wanted.
And then you just kept wearing it.
And then I just kept wearing it. She was like, are you still in costume? What's going on? I'm like, no, this is how I look now.
It's not a Halloween phase.
No, and it never left.
So is that your favorite or your worst costume?
Maybe my worst, because it just wasn't really a costume.
It was fraud. You defrauded your mother.
I guess. I was also far too old to be trick-or-treating, I think, at that point, but...
My best as a kid that I remember is my mom made me like an alien costume, and she gave me 2 other arms, like took a sweatshirt and cut the sleeves off and stuffed them.
Wow.
And like put like rubber gloves on the ends, so I just was walking around with 4 arms.
That's almost the character from the Life Day thing. Gormanda?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
But that was the first childhood costume that jumped into my head that I was like, that was really neat. Thanks, Mom.
My best one that I ever did, I forget how old I was, but I actually did win a costume contest as Dorothy one year. Because, like, I got the red hair, I had the dress, I borrowed my neighbor's dog that looked just like Toto. It was the whole package, really.
How old were you?
I was probably, like, 7 or 8, maybe.
Okay. That's cute.
I didn't know I looked that good until I started getting a bunch of compliments, and my mom was like, that's just what she looks like. We just found the dress and braided her hair, and
did that awaken something in you of enjoying being complimented on costumes?
Probably. I was like, I can win these?
That's the birth of a cosplayer right there. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and the TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, happy Halloween, and may the Force be with you.